Thank you for joining us on the Nikki Medoro Show. Would you vote for someone who couldn't make up their damn mind of which office they actually wanted to run for? I'm Nikki Medoro. She's Kim McAllister. We are talking a little bit of politics to start off our Happy Friday show. And Kim, I'm talking about none other than Assembly member Vince Fong, who got clearance for something I think is complete BS. He is going to be able to run for a House seat and to replace Kevin McCarthy's seat. And I am just not for this at all. He's going to be on the ballot twice.
So you used to have to pick a role, right?
Well, you'd think.
If you were going to run for an office, then you couldn't run for your current office.
Right.
You couldn't keep both. You couldn't do both in case you actually won both. They would make you choose. But when Katie Porter did not win to move on in the U.S. Senate race from California,
right,
I started thinking, boy, I really wish she would run for governor.
Yeah.
And so how cool would it have been to go, you know what? If she loses in one area, then she could potentially win in another. But I think when you do that, even though I would have liked that for her, you really open up a can of worms.
Yes, exactly.
Right? And then what are people supposed to think? Well, gosh, do I vote for him for X or do I vote for her for Y? Like,
well, what do they want to do? Like, the job is specific, right? So I understand you're still serving the state of California, blah, 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 blah. But no, it's like what job... where is your attention? If you say, I want to run for this seat because I'm going to do this in my time, okay, fine. But to say that and then hop and skip and jump over to the other side makes it seem like you're not being genuine at all.
Yeah.
So the Bakersfield Republican got the green light. We're talking about Vince Fong, from an appeals court to stay in the race for the House seat once held by ex-Speaker Kevin McCarthy, even as he seeks another for his current assembly seat. Now, which one do you think he wants? I mean, obviously, I would say that he wants, well, I mean, I don't know.
Wait, what are my choices? Assembly or
House?
Like congressional representative?
Yeah, I mean, it's
I
Kevin
would think
McCarthy's
he wants to be. I would say you'd want
wants to go to
McCarthy's
Washington.
seat. Sure.
Yeah. So it makes me wonder, like, what do you want? Do you want to serve me here or do you want to serve me there?
It's
and
like
are
having,
you... Go ahead.
I was going to say, it's like having your cake and eating it too.
Well, it's hedging your bets. It's like, well, if I don't win here, then I can win there. Now, here's the question. Do you think voters are buying it? I just don't think that it looks good. I mean, I obviously am not voting for him and anything. I don't live in that area. But it does seem to me that it just seems disingenuous anytime he's campaigning for either seat of what he truly wants. And I'm shocked. I'm actually shocked that this double dipping, as Secretary of State Shirley Weber was calling it, is even being allowed. I'm just shocked. No. I think that, again, like, she's worried that it sets a precedent for elections in the future in which a future California candidate could run for everything, everywhere, all at one time. I'm going to run for that. I'm going to run for that. It's like think about like student body at school.
Yeah.
I mean, how difficult is it to be, I want to be student body president. Oh, but I'll also be treasurer. Oh, I'll also be, your rep. It's like, well, no, what do you want to do? And tell me the skill set you have to do it.
But the truth is, there's no law, according to this judge, who said, listen, if the state legislature wants to draft up some type of law saying, that making this illegal, that you can only run for one office at a time, that's great. But as it stands now, even though it's always been the way we operate, there's nothing to say you can't do it.
Yeah. Now, according to Politico, one aspect of the future remains hazy, and that's the fate of Fong's assembly seat, which he currently holds. And that's because Fong had the assembly ballot to himself. So it's kind of like he was a shoo-in for the assembly seat, I guess. And so maybe that's why he felt like it was safe to run for the other one. But if you already have, it's like, one in the hand versus two in the bush kind of thing. Like, dude, what are you doing over here? I just don't get it.
What happens if you win both and you want to serve in both capacities?
No, you can't do that.
Well, maybe you could. Maybe you could say, all the time is when I'm not in Washington, D.C., happen to be the times when the state assembly is not in session or is in session, and so or the state will allow me to have vote by proxy or whatever it
Right.
is, and so somehow I'm able to then maintain power in both areas. And I don't think that should be allowed.
No,
I
I
think
don't
we
think so.
want a variety of voices in these jobs. We don't want it to be the same people doing the same thing, right?
Exactly. Now, Vince Fong posts on X. He's like, Central Valley voters won in court today. He wrote, today's ruling is yet another victory for the voters of the 20th Congressional District, who have now had their right to select the candidate of their choice upheld by the courts twice. I'm grateful that our judicial system has upheld the integrity of our elections and
No.
sided with Central Valley voters in our communities. This
Mm-mm.
decision puts to end the unnecessary and ill advised campaign in Sacramento to deprive voters of a real choice in this election. I think that he's robbing people of a real choice. I
Yeah.
mean, he's not choosing. He himself is not choosing. Choose a lane, dude. Pick one and then sell yourself to the voters. I don't understand how he got away with this, but it totally pissed me off, and
It's pretty
I don't get it.
shocking.
It is,
It's
and I hope that it doesn't continue,
mm-mm.
because you could see the precedent it starts to set where everyone's like, I'm going to do it here, and then you know what? People are telling me I could possibly win here too. So if I lose this, no, choose. Do
Are
you
you
think you want to run or not?
costing your taxpayers, your district money too, I wonder, because
Ah, that's a good point.
what happens if you win in both races? Say he wins for Congress and wins in the assembly.
Right.
Then maybe it would seem to me logically that if he forfeits his assembly seat, it would just go to the runner up. But I
Right.
don't think that's the way that happens. They
Yeah.
may then have to hold a special election for a whole new slate of
Ugh,
candidates.
I don't
And if
care.
that's the case, then have you just cost a million or so dollars to your district because you couldn't pick a lane and stay in it?
Yeah, yeah, you're
Not
probably
cool.
right. It's not cool at all. Not cool.
Mm-mm.
So we'll see how that one plays out. And if I was in the 20th congressional district, I'd be very confused. And you know what? That confusion also might bite him in the ass. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? It's like, wait a minute, is this wrong? Or so we'll see. We know, confusing some ballots can be for some people. So we'll see how that one plays out. All right, to my favorite story of the past week or so, and it's a little old, but I love this story. Kind of has to do with what we were talking about yesterday. And yesterday we were talking about, boys versus girls and who are good leaders, and just kind of this changing attitude about women, and not just in power, but just women in general and the popularity of them doing certain things, and how we're not replacing men, we're enhancing things, and we're allowed to enjoy things. My favorite story is Caitlin Clark and Iowa and South Carolina and the NCAA championship game, which drew the largest audience ever, not just of women's basketball, but ever of a championship of the NCAA championship game on ESPN. It
Mm-hmm.
drew 18.7 million voters, actually peaked at a whopping 24 million viewers. And they say it's the largest audience for any basketball game, men's, women's, college, or
Wow.
professional, since 2019. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it's insane. I loved this picture too of Jason Sudeikis, Ted Lasso. I think he was obviously at the game, I believe. And he's wearing this shirt, and it's become a shirt that you see a lot. And it says, "Everyone watches women's sports," because you'll remember there was the whole different weight rooms for the men
Right.
versus women that got all kinds of attention. Women got like one rack of hand weights, and men had like this high tech,
Totally.
gym, weight room, everything. And I was like, wait a minute. Like, if there
Not
was ever
fair.
a blatant example of the disparity in how men and women are treated, it was then, and how things have changed. And I'll say very quickly since then. And, whether it's Caitlin Clark and her kind of being the goat of college women's basketball,
Mm-hmm.
you'll remember that video. She was playing the game, and again, just to kind of bring up how some men feel threatened. And there was that whole, bench full of boys that kept, chanting overrated. And like they had to
Uh,
give the Emmy to the camera guy, because every time she made a three, the camera guy would pan to the guys that were, taunting her, and they're totally quiet. I mean, there's a changing of the tide. And I just keep reiterating, women aren't taking anything from men. We're
Mm-hmm.
adding to it. We want you to enjoy it. We want to entertain you. We want to play the game. We want to do all these things, and we could be great. And to kind of tie into that is Stanford's Tara Vanderveer's retirement. The winningest coach. She just has been, I mean, she's not going to be, I guess, I was talking to our sports guy in San Francisco, and he's like, she's going to be the winningest coach for like a couple more weeks. I guess there's another coach that's like right behind her or whatever. But at this point, she is. And what she did for the game, 38 years at Stanford alone, let alone what she did before that. It's an amazing feat and an accomplishment
Yep.
that should be recognized. And so I don't know. I'm not into basketball, let alone college basketball. But I was interested. I was kind of excited about the whole thing. And it was just fun to watch women succeed. But not only that, be so roundly supported by everyone, including men. It
Mm-hmm.
felt good to watch, right? It felt like, maybe there is a bit of a changing of the tide here when it comes to women in sports. And I just loved it. It made me all warm and fuzzy inside. And
It
so,
seems like though it's still that the men's sports, the men's games, that's the important ones.
well,
Those are
I
the
think
important.
I
Those
think
are
it
the
gets a lot of
important scores
attention.
to give, right? When
Right.
you hear sports scores given on a newscast, it's always going to be the men's basketball game, the men's this, the men's that. So until we get to a place really where people are as interested in the results of last night's women's whatever
Well, they
game,
were interested in this one. They
yeah,
definitely were,
yeah,
and I do think that, making the game interesting is important. I mean, there's a whole psychology, there's a whole script, there's camera angles, there's music. There are ways to hype things up that they do automatically for men's
mm-hmm.
sports. I mean, the drama surrounding the Super Bowl, we've seen it time and again. You think people are just naturally interested in these things? Some
Mm-hmm.
are. Some are caught up in the storylines of it all.
Yeah,
You start dedicating storylines to women and their sports, you are going to hook people. And that's what needs to be done. I mean, we
mm-hmm.
sing it with basketball. We're going to start seeing it with baseball. We see it with soccer. But it's going to take men also supporting women's sports like
Right.
Jason Sudeikis and like other people to show, hell yeah, this is entertaining and we want our dollars to go there. And when the
Mm-hmm.
dollars go there, then the
Mm-hmm.
promotions and the NIL, the name, image, likeness money gets to players, and I'm all for it. I'm absolutely all for it. So go women, as I love to say. Okay, so it is Friday. Oh, what about your favorite story of the week?
Oh, well, let me tell you. You
Okay.
know how Google in, I think it was Canada, I want to say, or in
Okay.
maybe somewhere in the EU, they stopped showing news stories, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because they realized that Google was posting all these stories, or people were allowed to post all these stories, and the journalists that were responsible for the content weren't ever being paid or compensated
Yes,
fairly
so
for this.
unfair.
And so, as someone who cares about this kind of thing,
As you should.
as I should, I have to say that now in California, we have something kind of going this way. So, Google announced that it is going to temporarily remove links to news websites in California for a small number of users. And this is this
Interesting.
escalation here in Bay Area tech at this, the massive company like Google with state lawmakers. And it's over this bill authored by Democrat from Oakland, Assemblywoman Buffy Wicks.
Okay.
And it's called the California Journalism Preservation Act. And she introduced it last year. It would require platforms like Google to pay websites for articles that the platforms feature on their sites. So say you write something, it ends up on a website where on the station you work for in San Francisco,
Right.
and then someone takes that and puts it on Google. No, Google would have to pay the
That's
station,
awesome.
and they would have more money to pay people like, oh, I don't know, Nikki Medoro, who did the work and all the legwork and the reporting in the first place. So, the critics of this measure the California Taxpayers Association,
Of
have
course.
called this bill a link tax. Google doesn't like it. They are, though, going to begin testing the ramifications of what happens in case this bill actually does pass. So they're going to look at how it's going to affect their product.
Of course.
And in doing this, they're going to temporarily remove links to California news websites for a small percentage of users. Who are they going to pick? Some users, random users. I don't know. They don't say how many people will be affected by this. They don't say how long the links will be removed or which publications will have their links removed, but it's all part of a test to see, is it worth paying? Are people going to freak out? Is it going to be we're not going to get information or the content won't be there anymore?
It'll be interesting to see. Well, Facebook recently, this month, took off the news option on their platform. So there's no more Facebook news. Now you can obviously CNN or whatever can post on their Facebook page news, but if there's not going to be a dedicated place where Facebook curates news for you.
Sure.
I'd gone there before and gotten some news topics for this, and it was an adjustment. I'm wondering if Facebook, if Google and all those places realize that they have to pay and they don't want to anymore, that may help newspapers, local news stations, because people are like, well, if I can't get it there, I'm going to have to go get it at the more traditional places where those journalists actually work. I'm kind of all for it at this point.
There's a bunch of papers that you can see the quality of reporting going downhill. There's not as many local stories as there used to be. Nope. They're regurgitating real estate stories or restaurant stories, which are great, but it's not the news stories, the local news stories that people have come to count on. Exactly. That content isn't there anymore. So the bill by Buffy Wicks is supposed to be a financial lifeline for these news outlets that have seen layoffs, even at the Chronicle, right?
Yes.
They've laid off people. At SF Gate they have. At the Marin IJ they have. And so there aren't the people to go out and do the legwork on these stories, these important local stories that could turn into national stories that there used to be. It's called a journalism usage fee is what would happen, and it would be determined by an arbitration process. An eligible outlet would have to spend at least 70% of the new dollars on hiring additional journalists and support staff.
I mean,
my favorite story of the week. Thank you.
That's fair. And that's fair, though. They can't just create a whole website stealing other people's work and not compensate those people. But that's what happened. And nobody, I think, realized it until it was too late that was going to have such a detrimental effect on journalism. And so I'm excited to see how this plays out. Again, we won't know. We won't really truly know the ramifications of it. Yeah. Similar how we didn't know the ramifications when Google and Facebook and all that stuff started at the beginning. But yeah, if a journalist does the work, hey, Google, you have the money. Pay them for it.
It's content on your site. Exactly. And to give credit where credit is due, the story comes from SF Gate, and it's written by Alec Regenball.
There you
go. And so well done.
Thank you, Alec. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, well, that sounds good to me. And what else sounds good to me is a little bit of food news.
Thank you.
It is Friday. I love talking food. I have a recipe coming up that I'm going to try this weekend. I haven't tried it yet because I've been exhausted and I've been in San Francisco. But I first want to try this that you can get, and maybe I'll get them tonight because I don't feel like cooking. I eat a lot of pizza in my life. Everybody eats a lot of pizza. Okay. I mean, and is there ever such thing as bad pizza? Probably not. I really don't care for certain pizzas, but
not all pizzas created
not
equal.
all pizzas are created equal, but there is something. Do you like Little Caesars pizza?
No.
Okay. I don't mind Little Caesars. Little Caesars reminds me of school pizza, right? You go to school, you get a, $5 whatever pizza, hot and ready, whatever. Well, now this guy, I'm gonna play him. Dan Levy from Schitt's Creek. He's like, this is not an ad. And he's the one seeing this on TikTok is what I had never heard that these were even available. But this is what he posted on his TikTok page. Here we go.
So this is not a paid thing. I'm just endorsing a product that I have discovered to be near perfect. Little Caesars Crazy Puffs. They're not paying me for this. Are stunning.
So that's it. He's like, they're stunning. Here they are. I got a picture. Some of them are cheese, some of them have pepperoni, and I guess they're like $3.99 and you get a 4-pack. So like that right
So it's
there.
like a stuffed pizza muffin.
Yeah, they call them crazy puffs, and apparently they are just a freaking hit. So I mean, it's made with house-made dough, tomato sauce, mozzarella cheese, and then I guess you could put pepperoni or sausage in them. Oh no, just pepperoni and garlic sauce, Parmesan, and Italian herbs and spices. I'm telling you, this looks like stoner food to me, but it looks like a little handheld pizza. I mean, it's like a step above a bagel bite, right? It's not a bagel bite and it's not a slice of pizza. It's kind of like I equate it to like Taco Bell. You have like 8 ingredients and you just mishmash them in totally different ways to come up with deliciousness. And so I'm loving the pizza puffs. If anyone's had them, let me know in the comments. My mouth is like watering.
But I was told about, I read a story about all these pizza places,
right?
And how they all like have their ingredients, these chain places,
right,
shipped to them in bags. So when they say house-made dough, what they really mean is
the
dough that was made at the central factory and shipped to the Papa's Pizza or whatever it is. But what about the local pizza places where everything
that's where we
is
go.
fresh, right?
We go to a local pizza place. Now, but again, I don't know where they get their dough. I don't know if there's a mixer in the back. Maybe they do buy, bulk dough. Maybe they go to Costco Business, right, and get all the ingredients. It's a business. You got to keep your costs down. I always imagine making things fresh is best. And if you're small enough, more cost effective, but I don't know if that's necessarily true. I'm not in the restaurant business. All I know is that looks freaking delicious.
It does look good. I'm not going to lie.
That looks bomb. Okay. But I am trying to eat healthier. You guys know I'm trying to eat healthier. I'm trying not to eat so much stoner food, basically. So I love Doritos. If you give me nacho cheese Doritos, I can eat the entire bag, whether it's small, big, or in between. When we were in Vegas, my friend and I, we went to go to the store to buy, booze and stuff for the room. So we weren't constantly spending money. And she's like, we should probably get some chips or something for the room. And I was like, just get the family size Doritos. Like I will just, and it lasted us, pretty much the whole weekend. I just, just grab a handful, leave the room. It was perfect. So then I was thinking to myself, Kim, how can I make Doritos healthier? Now, apparently this is the answer. I have not tried it. I'm going to try it this weekend. I will update you next Friday.
Right. What is it?
Those are chickpeas.
Okay. Like garbanzo beans?
Yeah, garbanzo beans.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
And so apparently I have found a recipe where you can use, I have it right here. I've never used nutritional yeast before, but apparently it gives it kind of that cheesy flavor when you add it to stuff. It has nutritional yeast, salt, cumin, paprika, chili powder, onion powder, garlic powder, some pepper, and some cayenne. I have all of that except the nutritional yeast in my cabinet right now.
When you say nutritional use,
yeast,
what is that?
Yeast.
Oh, yeast. I was like, what is she talking about? Nutritional yeast. Okay.
Yes. And I guess it comes in a powder form. I've never used it. I guess you can get it at the store, Whole Foods maybe. But I have seen people cook with it, and apparently it gives it a cheesy flavor. Okay.
Oh.
And then, so you can make these in your air fryer. I have the recipe for the air fryer. You just put a little oil, you dry the chickpeas very well, toss it in the seasoning, 390 degrees for 25 minutes, shaking it every few minutes so they don't burn. And apparently they taste like Doritos. Really? I'm not buying it yet, but chickpeas are good for you. They have a lot of
healthy
protein.
Doritos, eh? Mm-hmm.
I mean,
is it spicy?
Is it this or is it this? Is it this or is it this?
I'm thinking the pizza bite looks a lot better than the chickpeas.
But I like chickpeas. I like to snack on it. It's crunchy. Mm-hmm. If it has kind of that flavor, I could see myself liking it, I think. So, and chickpeas are healthy for you. You can't eat too many though, or it'll give you gas, I think. I think it's one of those things. But it's like the vegan, kind of protein option for those that don't eat meat. So there you go.
Can we roll back to gas for just a minute?
Sure.
I was reading something in one of I think it was in this book, this
I Got Gas
compelling
magazine.
bathroom reader, which is just full of trivia.
Okay.
And it said, I'll make you guess, how many times a day does the average person toot?
Oh, okay. Oh, that's a good 5?
You're very, very low.
Really?
Uh-huh.
Okay, maybe like 20?
The average person toots an average of 14 times a day.
Okay.
Can you like look back on your day?
Well, does that count going to the bathroom?
Did you fart 14 times?
I don't think I've. Well, I probably fart. I mean,
That seems like an awful lot.
this
Like,
is
I don't
my
remember
TMI.
14 times.
But I mean, think about how many times you go to the bathroom. Let's just say you let out a little
I don't
every time you go to the bathroom.
fart every time you go to the bathroom. Most of the time, it's just urine.
Well, no, but it's not like you're pooping. You're just letting a little air out. You know, you sit down, and you do a little air puff out of your butt. You know, you started it, dude.
Every time you
I
sit
wouldn't
down.
count that. I count farting like walking down the hallway being all. That's a fart to me.
Yeah, I mean, true. Anytime you have
Fast gas.
air is expelled, I would count that as one. I think that seems like an awful lot. You're 5, maybe 4. Like, if I look back on all the times I remember, it's not 14.
Not 14.
Doesn't that
But I mean,
seem a little excessive? A little flatulent?
I guess I'm going to have to make a concerted effort to count. I mean,
Let's log it.
let's log it. I mean, I feel like it. I think the number.
We'll keep a sleep log and a
How did
toot
they
log.
even determine that? I mean, somebody had to keep a log. Or
Someone counts. Somebody counted. That's the
That is
average
so
number. And I
funny.
mean, I'm sure there are people that
They'll
do
more.
more.
Yeah.
And maybe people
And
do
what about
less.
length? Like, what if you only fart 5 times, but it's a long, juicy fart? Like, does that count as 2 or
I
3?
don't know if we have measured the quality, only
that
the
could be like-
quantity.
Or like it's like a. You know,
It's the Nikki Medoro sit
There's
down and puff it
all
up.
different types of toots out
I
there.
can't even tell you. I don't know.
Some
I'm
should
just
count
saying
for more points than others, I'm thinking.
14 times a day.
Yeah. All right. Well, let us know in the comments, guys, how many times you toot. And remember, don't eat too many of the chickpeas. I'll post. I will.
Or maybe if you haven't
Or
reached
if
your
you
14.
want, yeah, exactly. If you haven't reached your 14. Now, again, check out our What's Cooking on the Nikki Medoro Show Substack. You see it right there, theNikkiMedoroShow.substack.com. I post recipes. I'll put the chickpea recipe up there as well. You guys can also email me if you have any recipes as well. Thank you guys for being here. Have a fabulous weekend. Make sure you click that subscribe button and that bell so you don't miss a moment. We love the fact that we've still created this community there. You got here. Make sure that you leave comments also, even if it's the recording. Continue the conversation. We go back and read it. We'll respond to you guys as well. You can email me, theNikkiMedoroShow@gmail.com. That's also the email for our PayPal. Our Patreon link is how we keep the show going in any iteration that we can. So go to theNikkiMedoroShow.com, click the Patreon link, and donate whatever you can afford. It's just one time a month. And then, of course, it's Friday. So get some Auntie Tabby's Island flavor barbecue sauce or hot sauces by going to auntietabbys.com/Nikki M or NIKKIM. No MOUSE. And yeah, just get the hot sauces, get the guava barbecue sauce. You see it on your screen right there, and it helps us out, and it's another way to support the show. We appreciate you guys so very much. Thank you. Have a fabulous weekend, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Nikki, you're all so awesome. You're proud, like a beautiful blossom. You're also the best. I really can't rest. You're all so awesome.
Wow. Okay.